Happy Hour with Ruth and Roxy. I'm Ruth.
I'm Roxy, and we have an empty seat here because we're having a guest in a few minutes. We'll bring her in and introduce her to you, but we have a few things, you know,
Roxy
to say.
on a stick.
Roxy on a stick.
So first, let's talk about what we're drinking, and then I'll explain why Roxy.
We're drinking a cocktail called an Autumn Aperol Spritz. And, you know, true Italians will say that's not an Aperol Spritz because that just has Aperol and bubbles and an orange slice in there. I think that's it in there, right? But this has Aperol, apple cider, and bubbles with an ice cube that has chopped up apples.
Here.
And
look, see? It's beautiful.
And a cinnamon stick,
it's
and it's supposed to have a star anise, actually, which I didn't have that or whole cloves, so I used a little mulled wine thing. So
that works.
You'll have little bits and pieces in there that you won't want to drink, but
that works.
Yeah,
excellent. Okay, so let's explain Roxy on a stick. So the last time we talked to you, I think we didn't know, but Roxy couldn't come to Alaska, unfortunately.
No, couldn't.
She had a thing with her eye.
Yes.
And it's okay now, but she couldn't travel because of it. So my husband came with me, but we took Roxanne with us on a stick, and we went everywhere with her. So.
It was very funny the first time. And I know many of you follow us on Facebook, so you probably saw A, my escapades with my eye, and B, my escapades as Roxy on a stick in Alaska, which was, or Pocket Roxy. Sometimes I was Pocket Roxy. Yes, she was
Pocket Roxy when she was on my phone.
They didn't tell me they were doing this before they left, and because
she would have stressed about it.
No, I'd have been fine, but but it was a pretty cool surprise. Yep. I have to say. Oh, we need to cheers.
Oh,
I haven't tasted. Have you tasted it?
No,
I haven't either.
Let's see. There's a lot of effort that went into this.
Yeah, not so much effort as a little stress, but you know, that's just me.
It's good. It's very good, and it has a very fall taste to it.
Cinnamony because of the rim. Oh, the mulled wine spices were maybe a mistake.
Oh, I don't think so.
As she picks something out.
Oh, of your
flings it into the woods.
Okay, so we talked about what we're drinking. We talked about Roxy on the stick. I want to give a little shout out to Roxanne's husband, Ray, who dropped off this Jimmy Buffett book to me, just saying, which is very sweet of him.
He has his moments.
Yep.
He likes to see things that are kind of random and then be like, oh, somebody would like that.
Yes. Nope, it's very nice. And also, before we get into it, I'm going to show you my little t-shirt that says Childless University and Childless Dog Lady, which is me. And I have to say, given the more stuff that's going on out there about what's being said about childless women and how useless we are, I'm on a little bit of a, first of all, men don't get to say that to us ever because it's none of their freaking business about whether we have children or not. And the other thing is, women like Sarah Huckabee Sanders, this is what I have to say to you.
What did she say?
Kamala Harris. Well, you know, when you go home and you have children, they keep you humble.
I heard that.
But Kamala Harris doesn't have children, so, you know, she has no one to keep her humble.
Yeah.
She has 2 stepchildren, and their bio mom, who is divorced from Kamala Harris's husband now, said that they are a blended family and that they raise these children together, that they call her Mamala. Right?
Mamala.
She is very involved. She goes to even when they're kids, she went to their events. She did all this stuff. And it's like, for those people out there that think there is lots of great things that come, I'm happy to have a bunch of mums in my life because they actually keep me in line, you know, because, you know, childless and I'm immature. But the other side is, our worth is not our worth. And I'm sick and tired of freaking men telling us that it's our worth. And I'm sick and tired of J.D. Vance. And I'm sick and tired of Sarah Huckabee. And the thing is, we all have to stand up, whether we're Canadian or American, and tell them to shut the fuck up. Because
they get double barrels for that.
Yeah, this is becoming too much. And what's happening is, young girls are hearing this.
Yeah,
and my problem is they're hearing it at home, too, from their from their maggot family. Not from Republicans, necessarily. From their maggot family.
Yeah.
And this affects young girls. It's the same as Donald Trump saying that he hates Taylor Swift now that she's endorsed Kamala Harris, right? What these young people are hearing, and young men too, what they're hearing is, if you are a woman who has some ambition or who does things, that's the wrong thing, that you should be staying home. And I'm not taking anything away from someone who chooses to or could be a mom, because there's lots of people that wanted to be moms.
Yeah.
But what I am tired of is freaking men telling us what makes us worthwhile.
Somebody else deciding
Our
what
value.
to do with our lives.
Yeah, and our value.
And our value. Your value is this if you do this.
Yeah.
Nope, you don't get to decide that.
Yeah.
Nobody else gets
So that's
to
my
decide
rant
that.
for today, because they're off on about this whole thing. So what we're going to do then, because I had to give myself a check, and I went and found a meme that I had saved for the podcast, and it's be an energy converter. Whatever comes your way, convert it into what you want it to become.
Ooh.
Everything is how you respond to it, not how it actually has to be. And that's when I took my, I want to go punch somebody in the throat about all of this, to, what it has to do is fire us up so that we make sure that young people realize that this is not the value of a woman. And also that we make sure that we push our American friends to go out and vote, right?
yeah.
Like people like Taylor Swift are doing, and Billie Eilish just endorsed
Oh,
Kamala
really?
Harris. Yep, which is
Wow.
huge, right?
Wow.
But
that's awesome.
but yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
anyway, that's my rant, and I'm happy now because I'm turning the energy into something good.
Good.
Okay.
Okay. So should we invite our guest on?
Yes. So
okay.
let's
I'm just going to pause this and
wait.
we
Let's introduce her first.
Should we introduce
know
her?
who's,
Okay.
who's
So we have a few really loyal listeners, and I'm really delighted to say that one of them is my sister Connie. And she watches us often while she's cooking in the kitchen, and she says it makes her feel like she's part of the conversation, and I just love that. And she's out visiting because she loves me and decides that I'm not coming her way, so she's going to come my way. So she's out here this week, and also it's our dad's 85th birthday this
Yep.
week on Friday, actually. So she's out here for that. She's very good at coordinating things like that. So she will join us momentarily. And we're back.
And we're back, and I just had a piece of whatever it was called.
I know.
Don't swallow it like
we're gonna
I
be
did.
picking things out of our
Yeah,
teeth.
that's
So
okay.
this is my sister Connie.
Hi, everybody.
And you might notice that we are all wearing similar outfits today. And this is, she started it. Because
I
she
always start
starts
everything,
everything.
man.
She's the instigator. She's walking around in this cool shirt one day. And I'm like, oh, I love your shirt. Where did you get it? So she sends me the link. And then I fall into this rabbit hole of things that I could buy with, money that I don't need to be spending. And I love them. They're comfortable. And then
And now she's got 3 of them, and her sister has one. And,
Beautiful
I
things
have
happen
4.
when
She has
Rox gets
4.
too many of something.
But now
I
they-
usually get something.
and now they don't ship to Canada anymore,
I know.
so we have to ship them to the
I know.
U.S.
This is why I bought the ones that I did, because I'm like, this is my last chance. I have to buy all the shirts because I can't anymore after this. So I think my kids all have one. Anyway, so we're gonna we're gonna take some pictures of what's on the back of these, because what's on the back is why we buy them.
Yes.
And we'll put those in for you to see.
Yeah.
But we should talk about it a little bit, because we can say what's on the back, and then we
Sure,
can put the shirts
sure,
in.
yes.
So each of us has a different saying, and it's very interesting because I think it's a little glimmer into our glimpse into our
Absolutely.
personalities. So
Yeah.
what does yours say, Roxanne? Want me to read it?
Yep.
If you wait long enough to cook supper, everyone will eat cereal. Follow me for more recipes. See?
That is rather apropos. Yes. And Ruth says,
Here, let me...
in my defense, the moon was full and I was left unattended. And yep,
You should never leave me unsupervised.
that is her.
Especially ordering takeout or alcohol or planning parties
Oh yeah, planning parties. Oh god.
or in a casino. Where else? Or booking travel.
going on?
Oh, Scruffy's chasing a spicy fly.
Good. Get
don't
him.
do that.
Scruffy.
Get
Hey.
him.
Okay,
Or
and
scare
so
'em.
what does
And
yours say?
Connie says,
Mine says, "Not my circus, not my monkey." And I have grandkids that are little monkeys, and thankfully they're not my circus, so I can enjoy them once in a while and then scooch away.
That's right.
and I love that. I love that because you say that.
I say it
You
all
say
the
it
time.
all the time.
Yeah.
And I love the broader implications of all that. It's like whatever craziness we're in, and even as I think of this sometimes, even what's going on south of the border for us, it's not our circus, not our monkeys. It absolutely affects us.
Yeah.
And we have to be aware of things to an extent, but
Yeah.
also we have to step back sometimes and say, it's not us.
Well-
and we can't do anything about it.
We
either.
can't
Like-
do anything
like,
about it.
Well,
we
that's
can't
the thing.
vote.
That's how I feel about it. Is you have so many spoons. You know about the spoons, right? The saying about the spoons. You only have so many spoons. Use
Yep.
them. Use
Yep.
them carefully because you only have so much energy. And I like to think about it in a way that says, where are your passions? Focus on your passions, because you can't put a spoon on everything that matters.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
make sure that you're using your energy in a way that makes sense for you.
Yeah.
Yep. And that sort of goes to something you say about how every choice of saying yes to something means a choice of saying no to something
Absolutely.
else, right?
Yeah.
And I think like for the US stuff, I have people that are like family to me in the US. Plus, I don't know, from the time I was 8 years old, I thought I was going to be an American presidential speechwriter, which I have no idea why. I must have saw like some movie or something, right? But I think that's a really good point, because even there has to be a point when you can disengage, even when your spoon's on it.
Yeah.
Because all I can do is encourage, and honestly, I'm not going to have friends that would vote for Trump, because it is no longer about conservative values. It is now about integrity and human rights.
Yeah.
But there's a time when you have to say, like, there are times when it's like, I can't watch MSNBC today because my blood pressure's too high.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Although I am taking the day off after the election, and I'm going to day drink for one reason or the other.
Okay.
November the 19th.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
And it
Okay.
will either be a great
You wanna come up?
celebration, or I'll be sitting on the back deck crying.
Yeah.
And cheers, by the way, to all the anti-mommies out there.
Yes, exactly.
yes.
Cheers.
Exactly.
Yep.
Cheers. 100%.
Cheers. Yep. But I think, and it sort of goes to the heart of what this podcast, as much as it's not just for women, but it is about celebrating all of that mum spirit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is kind of, and for those who have kids, that perspective is so important, and yet so is the perspective of the anti-types, or those who choose never, and they don't want to hang around kids, because we all come to it, and you can learn things. Because honestly, I think the best way maybe because we've had some people at our house with kids who aren't, they don't mind their kids. They get here and they want it's vacation for them.
For the parents.
For the parents,
Vacation
yes.
for the parents.
Yeah. And the kids are running around unsupervised. And what I should get is somebody who actually doesn't like kids, because they would have the kids sitting in a corner, right? You know what I mean? And then the parents would jump up and not do it. Whereas I'm like, okay, let's go eat chocolate cake. Or, the times you walk in and it's like, we're not going to have a water fight in the house, kids. And give me that black marker.
Where did the permanent Sharpies come from?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is
That's
it
rough.
is interesting. And I think that's the problem of it all, is that what they're not seeing is there is room for all of us in this world. And we need all of us.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So Roxy on a Stick, I've got one about the Red Onion Saloon in Skagway that I want to tell you guys about.
Yes.
So one of the places we went was Skagway, Alaska, that, Roxy came on a stick for a little bit of that.
I really, really wanted to see Skagway.
Yeah.
Because we had a tour planned that was called the
Right? The Ghosts and Good Time Girls Walking Tour.
Ghost and Good Time Girls Walking Tour. Like, all the things.
All the things.
You didn't see.
Yeah.
No, I didn't see that.
No. But did Paul show you his video of the ghost?
Yes, he did.
Yes. So we did see a ghost,
Whoa.
but this is, so more than 50% of Skagway, the small businesses, are women-owned. The Ghosts and Good Time Girls, it's really fun and lively, and we were with Madame Purity, and she was stinking hilarious.
Was that actually her name? That's
the
what she
only
called
name we get,
herself?
yeah.
Is
Yes.
Madame Purity.
Yes.
I love that.
I know, right?
I love that.
But she knew sort of all the history, and she took us places where she told us they would see ghosts, and there's all kinds of stories. But one of the places they took us was to a brothel, and in the brothel, and I mean, my God, I think the bed was probably the size of the chair I'm sitting on. It was that skinny, and that's where they had to live and do their business. And back in the day, how they got the sex trade workers there was that they gave them the perk of they got to decorate their room, so they got to pick the wallpaper, and they still wallpaper up and stuff. But
That doesn't seem like a sufficient perk.
No, I know,
that
it's
wouldn't
not.
be a
Although-
I'm in kind of moment.
Although
for
back in
her.
the day, so these women, although they were socially outcast,
Yeah.
so men paid $5, which think about back then how much that
Ooh,
was.
okay.
And the woman got $1.50 of it every 15 minutes, and she worked a 12-hour shift.
Holy.
First of all, yuck.
Yuck.
But the other side of that, so they were among some of the best paid women
okay.
to do that. But the other thing is, condoms were hard to come by.
Yeah.
So they reused them, and then how they used to clean themselves so they didn't get a disease was Lysol. And they had a little bottle of Lysol from back then, and they would wipe themselves, which is awful, right?
And that was, Paul said that was the original purpose
Yeah,
of
the
Lysol.
original purpose was, and it was like way worse than it is now, right? Far more chemically damaging.
Unbelievable.
But what I really liked is Madame Purity. We walked around and saw all the fun stuff, and she was really funny. Like, we had to cross the street wiggling our bums and things, because that's how you stop traffic back in the day. But then she pulled us into a quieter place. Scruffy's going to get a spicy fly. She pulled us into a quieter place, and she talked to us about as much as we've been having fun today, it was hard for those women. So if one of those women got syphilis, they branded her on the face with a branding iron.
Harsh.
Not if a man got it.
Right, exactly.
Right, they didn't do that. And also that, you know, I mean, it was back alley abortions, right? If that happened, and if they got pregnant, they couldn't work anymore.
They're done.
But there was all this. But also she was saying, so we also have to think about right now, because those women had no rights back then, and they're trying to take our rights away from us. And I really appreciate it. She didn't bring up a name or anything, but what she said was they didn't have bodily autonomy. This was all they could do.
Yes.
But honestly, think about it. It took us like overnight on the ship to get to Skagway. Imagine how these women got there, and we were there in September, and it was still kind of cold.
Yeah.
Imagine what they lived through.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And yet,
What a life.
And
Wow.
this was the best option available to them at the time. So this was their best option.
That's just it.
There's this idea, I think, among certain populations that people choose this life. Oh, they like sex, or they want to be dirty, or something like that.
Yeah.
And that is almost never the case.
No.
That is almost never the case. It is a thing that they're doing because the other options are all worse.
Yes.
So
or not available to them.
or not available to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And that's just it. And that's like, and sometimes you think about these days, and you know, we've done some work with the Missing Women Commission when it was in BC and the Downtown East Side. And the biggest thing I had was one of the family members of a woman who picked and had murdered, where she said, do you think anybody wakes up one day and says, hey, I'd like to be a sex trade worker and be drug sick?
Exactly.
And it was like nobody aspires to this.
No.
And so it's quite often it's circumstance. Like
Absolutely.
nobody chooses it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Life hits them hard.
Yeah.
And perhaps some could, like the Oprah types could dig their way out, but we don't know what the path Oprah had.
Yeah.
What moment where somebody helped her.
Right.
Maybe
Yeah.
nobody ever helped these people.
Turning
right?
points, exactly. There's some turning
Yeah.
point for most people somewhere along
Yeah.
the line, and it probably takes a helping hand of some kind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
of
get
course-
really itchy when I hear people say things about the people who've made those choices.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
very often, as particularly with anything that has to do with addiction,
Yeah.
there is very little. There are so many elements there that are far beyond choice.
Yes. Yes.
And yeah.
No,
anyway,
but that's just it.
as
And
Yeah.
itchy
Yeah.
is a good word, because I get violent. Because that's just it. Because, I mean, you know, it's one of those where it's like nobody chooses that. I
Yeah.
mean, my goodness, right?
Yeah.
And it's a little bit like, you know, saying to somebody who got cancer, well, if you didn't live where the car exhaust came, you wouldn't have, like, it's like
Right.
you don't
Yeah.
blame people for getting cancer.
That's right.
We shouldn't blame people for this, but it also sort of shows you how strong these people are, right? Like, you know, we think we're, you know, I think I'm a pretty sort of tough character, except could I wake up on the Downtown East Side knowing what I had to do that day?
Right.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Right? These women, they are so strong in a way that I don't think we'll ever have to
Right.
experience,
Yeah.
right?
That's right. I'm reading a book right now, and I've been
What a
boring-
surprise.
I've been boring my sister and my husband about it, and I think this is why
No, you
I've been
haven't.
sleeping this week,
Yeah.
because it's, and I'll
She's reading a book that makes her not sleep.
shocking.
Here it comes.
I'll come up with the name and the author, because I can't remember either right now, which is, I hang my head in shame about that. But the book hinges on, it's a book about a trial lawyer. It's a legal thriller.
Scruffy, do you want to come and see me?
Legal procedural.
Come here.
And you want to go see Mommy?
Come here. You want to come? Come on.
You can do it. You can do it.
Oh my God. And here's Scruffy.
It's the author himself is a trial lawyer, a trial attorney, and the book centers around a case in Alabama, contemporary, a young woman who belongs to a very conservative church that doesn't agree with
You want down?
medical intervention.
Yeah. Oh God.
Okay, so they believe God heals, faith healing, all that stuff. And she became pregnant with twins, and the twins developed a condition called twin-to-twin. I forget the exact name of it, but the girl describes it as one becomes a vampire and steals the blood from the other one.
They're chasing the wasp.
Because they're brilliant dogs, right?
So she runs away, because when she discovers this, the state court orders her to have the procedure done to save these children. It's an easy, relatively speaking, it's an easy procedure to stop this so that they survive the birth. She flees instead because this is going against her church.
Right.
And so one twin is born dead, the other one dies shortly after birth, and she is charged with murder. So this guy is brought in from out of state to defend her. So the conversations that he's having with people about this, and this idea that, like there's a Southern Baptist reporter reporting, for a Southern Baptist publication, and she says, so this is who I am, and how can you defend a baby killer? And he says, okay, so I can tell from your name and what you write for that you are pro-life, you are devoutly religious, and you there's a third thing anyway. Yep. And you reject government intervention, government oversight. And he's like, right now you are a hypocrite, because I am fighting for the fact that this girl, she didn't do anything. All she did was not do something. So there was no affirmative action to kill these children. She chose to try to heal them with her God, and she elected not to let the government cut into her body against her wishes. Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so all of these arguments, it's making me think.
It's so provocative.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It's so provocative because, giving birth and then you could have saved them. It's horrible. But the arguments for and against all of this,
the theory arguments, right?
Like theory, exactly.
Yes,
they go bigger, and it all comes down to who is in charge of this decision, and who is going to tell you, me, us, that woman, what to do with her body.
Right. No, and it goes, but that's exactly, and something chasing me?
Maybe not anymore.
Thank you. But it also kind of goes back to the hypocrisy of that approach, because it only works for that. But it also hits me a little because I'd be a little wrinkled if somebody didn't get the procedure. And so I have to take a good look at myself and understand my own hypocrisy, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, hands off my body, except that. And it's like, that's not right.
It's so, it's such a complicated issue. And I think as humans, we want the easy answer. Black and white is easier.
Yes.
If you can say, this is right, this is wrong, no argument, it's, exactly where you stand. You don't have to think about it all. Once you start thinking about the nuances, it gets complicated.
Absolutely.
And that's harder.
Yeah, and it also goes to, it's like the intent thing that we've talked about, right? We know our intent, our intention.
Yeah.
We don't, somebody does something and we don't know, because her intention may have been absolutely to her God,
right?
Which immediately gives me wrinkles, but also to her belief system, right? So my intent to that is, what the hell? Except to her intent is faithful.
But we judge others by the impact that their actions have, not their intentions. We judge ourselves by intent, others by impact.
That's a really, really good point. Say that again.
We judge ourselves by our intentions. We judge others by the impact that they have.
I love that.
It's not mine.
I
won't take credit for it, but
it's such a good one to keep in mind.
Yeah,
because we know and we all say that when we apologize badly. Oh, I'm so sorry that hurt you. I didn't mean to do it.
Right.
That doesn't matter.
It has
the other person. The other person doesn't care.
That's beside the point.
It's beside the point.
Yeah,
it is. But I want to play devil's advocate, because I also think it's fair to say, I am so sorry I hurt you. I didn't realize, and now I understand.
Right.
Like the other side of that is because it's that my reaction was because I misunderstood the thing, right? It isn't, and so I always got, because people are like, well, just because you didn't intend it, it did. And it's like, absolutely. But the other side is, I didn't intend it, because I've also seen people apologize for things that they meant, right? Oh, I was in a bad mood. And know what I mean? Like there are also, so that's it. But this kind of leads,
which means it's not an apology.
No, it's not an apology. It's an I'm trying to make an exception.
Yeah. It's kind of an acknowledgement of what I did. Yeah. Unless an apology is
I got him. No.
Unless an apology is, I am so sorry, I was just having a really bad day, that won't happen again.
And
here's how I'm going to make it. And honestly, half of my career has been saying to grown-ups, right, to CEOs, it's like, for issues and crisis. And it's like, especially if it's not, you know, not if they get a flood, that's a different crisis, but somebody embezzles something or something. And my thing always is, or they've done something that hurt the team. And it's like, you know, the way we work with them, you're going to acknowledge what you did wrong. You're going to tell them how you're going to make it so it never happens again. And you're going to make sure that you make it right for them. And that's right. And if they're like, well, and we're like, we're done, right? And I think that's all you can get through anything if somebody says, oh my gosh,
you can do that at any level.
Absolutely. Yes.
Right? Like that's just it. But it kind of takes this. So it's called Hanlon's Razor. And it's a
Hamlin's.
Hamlin's. Is it? I might have written it down wrong, but never attribute to malice that which is adequately explained by stupidity.
I love that.
Okay, so he wasn't being mean. He's just really dumb. That's what we're talking about.
But it is. But it's also like let's say somebody, I don't know, they stand you up for dinner, right? And you're sitting there, and you're and all of it, and then it's like, what an asshole. And then it's like, oh my God, he's so foolish. He didn't even put it in his schedule.
There you go.
Right? You know what I mean? Like it is, and I think we also, because it's easy, again, black and white. It's easy to go, that was malicious,
right?
When really, it could have been thoughtless.
Sure. Yes.
Right. And it doesn't
in the true sense of the word.
In that you didn't think of it.
Right.
But it is interesting when you start doing that, because you know we all have the things, and I have certain people that I see through a lens of wow, you're a jerk, right? And maybe I have to relook at it and think maybe they don't realize, right? Like give them a bit of grace. Is kind of that thing.
That's a lovely way to live.
Well, you know, I aspire to such things, because mostly I'm like,
that's Buddha Ruth.
Yeah, Buddha Ruth. And then there's Bitchy Ruth. There's Buddha Ruth and Bitchy Ruth. And sometimes they come out in the same night.
No, I can see it. I can see it.
Yeah.
Kind of a cool combo, actually.
Yeah. I have an image in my head of me as a grape and me as a raisin. And when and maybe
Roxanne.
Maybe me as wine in a glass. And when I am full and nourished, and I have all of everything, I have all the spoons, and I have all of the everything, like I'm all nourished, then I can give, and I can create wine for someone else's glass. I'm really killing this metaphor here. But a lot of the time I feel shriveled and tiny and sun-dried, and I got nothing. You squeeze me hard, nothing is going to come out. And that is not a good me. Raisin Roxy is bad. She's bad, and she's mean and
Raisin
shriveled.
Roxy has all kinds of purpose too, though.
Yeah,
maybe,
especially with the little chocolate covering.
Oh, I like that. Yeah,
there's a place for Raisin Roxy in this world.
Okay,
100%.
Okay.
Because we all have those moments,
of course.
But sometimes those moments are giving us information as well.
Yes,
and so
that's true.
You gotta embrace your full grape, Rox. Sometimes
embrace the full scope of the grape.
Exactly.
But also, sometimes Raisin Roxy and Bitchy Ruth will set boundaries for people that need to be set. Right?
That's true. That's exactly right.
Right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
You can go along and be oh, well, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's okay. And then one day it's like, no, it's not okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And better to bring a little raisin in, right? And say, not okay, but here I am again being Grape Roxy.
So here's a question for you.
Oh, God.
I'm curious about I love this idea. And so have you given thought to times when you can feel your grape becoming a raisin and what's causing that, and how to kind of manage that?
I'm so glad she's your sister and not asking me these questions.
Yeah. That's a really good
That is a good question.
That's a really good question. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of there's been definite stages in my life where I know I've been, and I think of Raisin Roxy as not my best self. And I can think of I can't think of like a recent time where I've been that way, because even in this last summer I've not been at my best necessarily, just because of stresses and eyeballs that decide to go sideways on you the worst way, the worst time. But that's so that is something that my counselor would say. Have you sat with that and felt it?
Yeah.
Have you let yourself feel it? Because that's, I think, the thing when I am not my best, when I'm that Raisin Roxy shriveled and I got nothing in me, I don't like that feeling and I don't want to feel that way. And usually I try to find a way not to feel that way and not think about what's going on. And I think is the essential part of it, is to let yourself sit in that moment and say, yep, this is really not good. I don't like who I am right now. Why? What is contributing to this?
Right.
And I don't do that well.
Well, it's uncomfortable.
It's a really
It
uncomfortable
sucks.
thing.
Yeah.
It really
Yeah.
sucks. But yeah, you and my therapist challenged me to feel that way.
I
To
remember-
let myself sit and feel it.
I remember back when I was working and I was managing some people, and I had to set some boundaries because people will suck you dry.
Yeah.
If you are, maybe I was a little too available for people to come and unload on me or whatever it was. And I had to set myself some really strong, I gave myself some coaching questions is what I did. And so if somebody were to come to me and want to take my energy or take some spoons from me, I would ask them to step back for a minute, let me finish what I was doing, and then I would come to them. And in that moment, I would ask myself, who am I to this person? What do they need? What can I offer? And if I'm not somebody who, like say I'm the only person who can help this person with a specific thing, then what do they need? Am I the right person to offer it? And if I'm not, I can give that away to somebody else. And if I'm not the only person who can help, maybe it's not even my monkey. So I have lived well. I've had a better experience with people if I can remember to just step back for a minute and say, is this going to be worth my energy or not?
But that's really interesting because I know for me, I tend to be a helper.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
when somebody's like, I mean, even if they don't ask, somebody like Paul will be like, oh, this is frustrating. And I've had to train myself because it doesn't serve anybody not to jump in and say, I can fix it.
Absolutely.
Right? Or how can I help or what can I do? But those, for me, those are really good questions because my nature is to be, how do I help?
Me too.
And I have,
Me
and
too.
and you
Yeah.
too. And
Yeah.
and
it can
you-
be exhausting.
well, and
Yeah.
it kind of is going to go into what we were talking about when we're going to talk about feeling safe and stuff, because there are people out there that it's definitely a back and forth of all of that,
Yes.
right? Where
Yeah.
you get it back,
Right. Yeah.
and then I've got lots of friends that do that. But did you get a fly, buddy? Nope, you're good, you're okay. But I've also had friends where it was all the take part. Right, and then when you needed them, it's like there were crickets from that.
Right.
And
Yeah.
after my dad passed away, and I was in the room to help him transition with my sister, there were a few people that I had been there all along with, and all I got from them was a text saying sorry. But I went back to my therapist for a bit, and it was like, so of course, it kind of, a lot of our nature is to be like, oh, were my expectations wrong?
Yeah.
And my therapist was like, what would you have done if they did that? If something like that had
experience was
happened to you?
reversed.
And it was
Right.
like, oh.
Yeah.
And but it was really interesting to put up those boundaries, not just for them, but for me.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's, for me, I can say to anybody, I'm sorry, I can't do that. But then I feel guilty. So I've had to
Right.
really work on
Right.
that. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's an interesting to ask that questions. So what am I to that person? What is that person to me? Because a work thing is a bit different. If they
Well-
come to me for a comms thing, then that's my
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
But the other side is, if you take that into a personal life, it's like, is this a two-way friendship?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
need to bring the
Yeah.
next element into it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that goes to what we were talking about a little bit, that we're going to talk about today, about finding the people you feel safe with.
Yeah.
And that's not always reciprocal, which when you said it, that was like a big light bulb going off for me. It was like, oh my God, that's how it works.
Lifelong learners, that's what we are.
Yeah,
man.
Oh, yeah.
But it
You
is,
know?
right? Because you make an assumption if you're a safe space for somebody, because that's valuable and rare
Yeah.
and precious,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that it will be a two-way street. But it's not.
It's not necessarily.
Sometimes that's who you are to someone else.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And hopefully you have that, but it might not be from that
no,
person.
but that, and,
Right,
and
right.
also sometimes that might be your gift out to the universe or to
Yeah.
whatever, right? You might be there for somebody, and sometimes it could be a random stranger. Because I've been in like
Oh, yeah.
airports where people are melting down, and you help them, and you don't even know their name, and they're really grateful, but they go off, and you feel grateful that you had the chance to help them,
Yeah.
right?
That might be something that feeds you.
But that pushes it on into the world, right? Like the ripple effect. But if it's somebody in sort of your circle, and you're always the one there. I think that for me, that was like, wow, I have to think about, because I do tend to be the safe space. Because first of all, I'm a vault. They tell me something, it never goes anywhere. But the other side is I'm the one that gets the phone calls in the middle of the night, right?
Yeah.
And then I had to think about who could I call in the middle of the night, or who would I call is better, because I'm sure there are lots of people. Yeah, but absolutely. I also know I can just knock on your window.
You can.
but you know what I mean? But I think it's a good question to ask yourself as we go back to how many spoons you have left. And you know, I think about how many days or months or years I have left. And it's like, who are you going to invest this, you know, the
little
chapters?
time that you have
Right,
left?
yeah.
Where is that going to go?
Because it's valuable.
Yeah.
It's valuable.
Well,
and
it gets more valuable as it
Absolutely.
starts trickling
Oh.
out. Yeah.
I'm making a little collection,
I've
just so
learned.
you know, of little spice things.
I've been sipping mine through my teeth. It works.
But yeah, and then I'm going to get it because I have a little gap. I'm going to get it right
And
there.
we'll just let
And they don't.
we'll just
and
let
she
you go
never
like
tells
that.
We
me.
can just zoom in on it.
I go home sometimes and I'm like, oh, I have spinach in my teeth. Roxy doesn't tell me. Ray doesn't tell me. Paul doesn't
They're
tell
just
me.
enjoying.
You know, yeah.
If I saw it, I would tell you. Eye issues. I don't see things anymore, so I will claim that.
Or what that kind of tells me I shouldn't pay any attention to me when I'm talking.
You know.
Okay, but so tell me, because when we first started talking about that safe space, it would be good to hear, like from your perspective, given sort of, so we should give an explanation about how your knowledge and expertise in this area.
Oh,
so
yeah,
tell us
yeah,
about,
that's really good.
Tell us about
Tell us about your background
Yeah.
and your training and some of the work experience you have, and because you have knowledge in this area, you have very specific knowledge in this area.
Well, I've done a little learning over the years. I have a master's degree in leadership, which really, the first year of that whole training or that education was all about understanding yourself and digging deep and getting yourself all discombobulated so that you could recombobulate yourself in the next year, and understanding your personal values and knowing what makes you tick so that you know how to move into positions of leadership in a way that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's my education. And my work was a lot of consulting, a lot of values work, strategic planning, and a lot of business writing. But my other part, the work of my heart was I became a mentor in something called gentle teaching, and it's all about helping.
Oh, we'll link to gentle teaching.
Oh, great!
Yeah,
Good, because there's an
absolutely.
international conference coming in a week from in Regina that I'm going to be fairly involved in. So
cool.
that's really cool.
Yeah.
But it's all about helping. It all started with helping people who were marginalized in one way or another learn how to become reconnected and interconnected in society and in community in a way that is mutual. And so that means helping people understand, because step number one in anything, like when you try to work with people who have challenging behaviors, most of the time, most people want to first go, how do I get that person to stop doing that thing?
Right.
And that's like step 4, people. Like the first thing you
right.
have to do in any relationship, just take out the scenario and think about humans in particular. You can't feel trust until you feel safe with somebody. And you can't feel love for somebody or value for somebody until you feel safe with them.
Yeah.
And you can't feel the value of your own self until you, usually other people will speak into that for you.
Right.
So that, and somebody who you trust will let you know that you have value, and then you can value them once you can understand mutual value.
Right. It's kind
Then
of
you
meeting
can
them
do
where they
things-
are, right? Like,
then you can do things with people.
Right.
And then you can do things for people. But it doesn't work any other way.
Right.
You have to first
that's
develop
really
trust.
interesting.
And so that's something that I've been doing off the side of my desk for years and years. And now that I don't have a desk, all I can do is this stuff.
Yeah.
And I've got time to do it anytime I want, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome, though.
Particularly with parenting and kids.
Oh, yeah. But I think everything you say, and
Thank
maybe
you.
maybe we could get you to, what a good sister, hey?
Aw, you're
But
so sweet.
maybe we could, so are you allergic to something in there?
Oh,
Or
let's
here?
say yes.
Okay.
Let's say that's what's happening instead of just a runny nose.
Oh, yeah, well, I have one of those things that certain red wines, and all of a sudden it's like,
interesting.
But so it would be great if you were, and then let me well, it's on tape. It's not like we're on, NBC or something, but if you could write a blog post about that and give people some tips, would be really fabulous, right? Because
Ooh, that's
I'd
a
be happy
great
to do that.
idea.
But
That's a great idea.
I really think that one of the things that we're starting to get away from is that sort of understanding where the person is, right? Like,
Oh, you have to go
Yeah.
there first.
You're
And
not
whether
drinking
it's a
fast
little
enough.
kid
no, I'll
having
have
a,
some bubbles in here, though.
if it's a little kid having a meltdown, or
Yeah.
a person with a disability who feels
Yeah.
because caregiver number 864 is telling them to do something. Or if it's just a friend, or if it's just a person on the street, you always have to kind of get a sense of where they're at.
Yeah. Well, and just thinking about that, like even sort of those with disabilities, that
top up?
Yes,
that is so much more important to meet them where they are, because it's a lived experience we don't have, right? So we need to understand. But even taking it to sort of daily life for someone like me is being able to understand, you know, so going to someone that perhaps has lived a different life. Like I have a really good friend, our friend Elisa, who lives in Seattle, and they're talking about moving and doing all these things.
Moving where?
Las Vegas. Because it's better weather and stuff and stuff, and you know they're getting closer to retirement age. But when she said it, my first reaction was, first of all, you can't leave me. but then it was also. But
then we have a reason to go to Vegas.
That's right.
Oh my gosh.
Nope, that's just it. But then it was also like, oh, what might they be looking to add to their life at this age? Because I think they're probably mid-50s. And it was interesting to me, because my first reaction was about me, but then my next reaction was, I wonder what it is that they're looking to add to their life that maybe they're not getting now. But it is a really interesting way to take it, because I know I am safe with her, and she is safe with me. Although she did say, I do have to tell you a funny, because because she's the Energizer Bunny, and she's got a healthcare job, but she also works part-time.
I'm just going to interject here briefly, because I've met Elisa and Elisa, and you guys met on a cruise, right? So Ruth and Paul cruise a lot. They go out and they meet people, and they don't just meet them and become, you know, buddies for like the 7 days or the 10 days that you're on the cruise. They meet them and then they become friends. So we're here in our house.
Friends. You notice how she says it? Friends.
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 And I'm like, she's like, our friends are coming over. Elisa and Brian are coming over. You got to meet them. And we'll go over. And Mamala.
Their mother adopted me.
And so I'll go over, and now I love Elisa and Brian and Mama that they met on a cruise, because they will come from Seattle to Vancouver, and then Vancouver to way the hell out here, which is like, depending on what day you get, it might be 3 hours to drive out here to our place. But they come out and they visit you. Like, I love that.
But they're not everybody we meet on the cruise. There are some people who are like,
well, of course. But you've got quite a few friends like that.
This is what happens when you have trust, because the two of you have such a trusting friendship that when you have trust with someone, now she vouches for someone and you immediately take them into your heart.
Totally.
And that is exactly the beautiful thing about trust, and how it just grows like this for people.
Although,
it's true.
To go back to why I no longer trust her, not really. So she works at a stadium, and she works at games, and she works at concerts, and because she is this charming Energizer Bunny person, she's been put up in like the suites where all the very wealthy people are and stuff. But there's a line where they can't take their drinks further, and so she said, they made me the alcohol police. And I was like, how are we friends, man? So first of all, she doesn't like, I've seen her have one glass of wine in the 5 years I've known her.
But she's Asian, which is not unusual.
And she's also like, she's got enough energy. She doesn't, and she is
like,
I've never seen anybody.
I've never seen anybody like that either. Like, you can see her vibrate, and she's tiny. Like, she's this real super fit, svelte little thing, and you'll hear. You said she works in healthcare.
She does,
but she also works like events,
at concerts, and she works to check people into the cruise ships. And she's like, because she said, well, like, otherwise I'm sitting around bored, so I'm going to go do this. But it also was like, she was like, and then she said, but in your honor, what I say to them, you can't take it here, and I'm not encouraging you to chug it, but I also don't encourage waste. So she does that in my honor. But she is a person, and some people you get instant trust with, like we had, and other people it takes time, right? Like, but I think when you talk about this, it really sort of opens my mind up to things, because first you have to trust, and then you feel safe, and then you're putting out little seeds to see how safe you feel, right? Like, it's like you put something out, because it might be something, I don't know, like the fact that I go to bed at 7 p.m. at night. At first you don't tell people, and I'm like, okay, I gotta go now, and they're like, and it's like, finally you go, I want to go to sleep.
So one of the first things that we did together after we met you guys moved in September. So October, Halloween. We've already kind of figured that we're friends, but it's during COVID.
She hesitates. Kind of figured out friends.
You know, like I'm not sure yet. You know, I'm hedging my bet. But anyway, so we're gonna sit on our front driveways and we're gonna like throw candy at the kids because
it was COVID.
But we'll sit out.
So I was throwing candy at them.
I have a mental image of you just beating kids in the head with candy.
I think we had a basket.
It's not completely wrong.
We actually had a basket that we used a rope with, and we pulled the rope back up.
No, we pulled it back.
No.
And all of a sudden, and you know, so we had, I don't know if we had Luna
Julie
at the
and
time.
JD and were there.
Yeah, oh yeah, Julie and JD were there too. So we had Luna, we got our puppy, they've got their dogs, and all of a sudden I look around and I'm like, Ruth and the dogs are gone. They're just gone. And the kids are still coming. It's like, yeah. And I said, what happened to Ruth? And he's like, oh, she went to bed. And I went, what? What? Who does that? You just like walk out? You just leave?
Confession time. Oh my gosh, yes.
The Irish goodbye, man.
The Irish goodbye. I just laughed so hard. And now I'm like, no, if you're going, I'm going too.
So now I have to signal her.
You can't leave me here with them. Because
then
I'm left with the boys.
Oh God! All they talk about is golf.
All they talk about is golf.
But I think it's a really important thing to understand, and I don't think, Connie, anybody's ever like just the way you describe it. It sort of solidified it for my brain. Is that what it means to feel safe? And it's okay to think I'm not sure I feel safe and hold back a bit.
Absolutely,
right? Like you know what I mean? Like
no, it's a process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's really because I think it's like for me, it's probably sort of some throwback or something, but it's always like, how come I feel a little unsettled with this person, right? And so, but it goes back to sitting with things too, right? It's kind of like, why do I feel unsettled? Now, is it because you know, we laughed about when I first saw Kaylee, and I was like, oh God, she's going to be a bitch, and she's not, because she's beautiful and lovely, but she's wonderful, right? So that's a prejudgment on my part. But the other side is there are some people that you feel like I should feel better about this. And there's some, like there's that, what's the Malcolm Gladwell thing that they call it? The blink?
Oh, the blink?
The thing that you thin slice, like there are some people where you make
immediate, like microsecond decisions.
Yeah.
And we all do it. We all do it.
Absolutely.
And it is a...
Well, because it goes back to our reptile brain.
Sometimes it's pattern recognition for us.
Right.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it's our enteric brain, gut brain telling us, you know this. This is not cool. But sometimes it's because pattern recognition tells me someone like that wasn't great.
Right.
But that isn't necessarily
no,
true.
that's fair.
Right.
Or
That's
it
right.
even could be, for me, like somebody with the name of somebody who wasn't good, right? Like there's a trigger or it's a thing. But when I did journalism stuff, I used to get, like, the best questions would come into my head, and I think it's because I have a natural ability of that, because you could see, I could tell what was more important to me was what they weren't saying.
Right.
Right. And not everybody had, like, we were joking one time on a podcast because my friends used to take me to the bar and I was like their human lie detector. Like I was there, it was like, he's not into you, right? They would be like, I'm going to go talk to this guy. And I'd watch for a few minutes. It's like, no. And they used to use me as a party favor, right? But I think we all have that instinctive thing, but I also think our biases come in the way.
Well,
right?
and we've been enculturated, is that a word?
You're the writer, you can make it up.
I can make it up. It's a word. It's a good word.
I
love it.
Enculturate.
We've been
enculturated.
We've been socialized to ignore that voice because it's not polite, right? So we've been socialized to, oh, don't do that, that's rude, or don't make that judgment because that's, you know, but we all, and I will say especially women, because anybody who is in a position of less power will have that lizard brain, that enteric brain. Those instincts are more honed because we understand more about danger.
Right.
So children, women, I would say white males of a certain age probably have less of that because they don't need it anymore. So anybody who needs
they might need it now.
They might need it now. But when we listen, if we are told, that's rude, don't do that, you know, you shouldn't cross the street because that person looks different from you, or that person gives you the vibes, or you should just sit there and listen to him. He's really nice. He's from a good family. You should date him. and your whole body is
Yeah.
saying, I don't like the way he's looking at me. I don't like the way
There's some vibe.
There's something, your body knows that that's not safe,
Yeah.
and you need to listen to that. But so much of, and that's the Malcolm Gladwell Blink thing, is our instincts are correct, but we've been taught to ignore them.
Yeah, and I think it's okay to question your instincts.
Totally.
But the other side of that is, we've been more taught to ignore them. Like, what I really like is now that the whole sort of parenting thing is if my kid doesn't want to hug Uncle Jamie, right? It is, the kid doesn't have to, and you shouldn't, because given the whole kerfuffle around stranger danger, and really it was Uncle Jamie, that I think it's really good, because if a child does, first of all, if a child doesn't want to, you're giving them bodily autonomy. But the other side is, if a kid's like, I don't want to be alone with this person, there's a freaking reason, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like,
and what you're teaching them is to ignore those signals.
That's exactly, or that somebody can override it.
Yeah.
And they're good at, like, those signals they come really naturally until we kind of curtail them, I would say. And I would also suggest that on the flip side, I like what you said about it's so much more than what a person says. Because, for example, how is a person looking at you right now? There's a micro communication there going on with your eyes. What is that person's presence saying to you right now? When a person walks into the room, what is that give? What kind of communication is going on here? And do you think that person's touch is going to be welcoming to you or not welcoming to you? If they're moving towards you, if they put a hand on your arm, how does that react? And we have to be really cognizant of what those four things do for other people too, of our own, our hands, eyes, words, and touch.
Absolutely.
That is, it's so much more than just what we say to people.
Okay, so my youngest daughter tells me she can't read faces.
Oh, really?
Yep, she has said that. She sort of has indicated that she thinks she may be on the autism spectrum somewhere, in that she's like, I don't pick up body language. I don't pick up those verbal cues.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
And that, I find that really interesting too, because I don't know. I'm trying to think of something when she was a child where I may have seen that, or I'd like to talk to her more about that, because that's, I mean, she's my youngest, so I was smarter about mothering by the time I got to her. That's not saying a whole lot.
Oh, it says a lot.
But
I saw you with your kids.
But I really encourage them to listen to themselves, to believe the thing, to own their feelings, right? And to find words for them and all that. But it's only since she's become an adult that she's identified that idea of.
I wonder what that's like for her.
I don't know what that's. I would like to have more of a conversation with her to find out about that.
So when she's out next, maybe, because so one of the things I was good at, so some of the magazines I wrote for would push me towards it. So I've done a RCMP interrogation about how to read body language course, right? And I've read a bunch of books. I spent time with an FBI profiler that actually started. So interesting, right? So one of the things that, and I used to, when I was the party favor, you can tell if somebody's interested in the conversation by where their feet are pointing, right? But we should have a conversation and hear what Megan has to say.
I would love,
because it would just be interesting, because I bet you she sees more than she realizes.
That's what I think too.
But perhaps is not giving her voice credibility. Right? Because I have a really good friend who has been diagnosed with Asperger's.
Okay.
And he can read people it's incredible, right? Because there is a spidey sense that comes with the way his brain works, right? So that would be because that's just it, right? It's so really fascinating, right?
I know, that's interesting. I love that, and that's like for me, I've done so many courses over the years about characterization, how to create a plausible, believable character, how to create emotion in a reader by describing. And that whole thing about where are the feet pointing, what are all these nonverbal cues? They're things that writers do. Because as a reader, you don't want to be told yeah, he doesn't like her.
Right.
You don't want to be told that. You
Right.
want to be shown it.
You want to paint a picture.
So you're going to be painted that exact picture.
Yep.
What you're describing is
Yep.
all those nonverbal things,
Yep.
so that the reader can see the other character either picking up or not picking up.
Yeah.
And as a reader, you'll be like, "Oh, honey, don't go there. Don't go there.
But-
don't go there."
And it's something as subtle as she picked up her drink at the bar and held it in front of her. Right? You know what I mean? Putting a barrier. But I'm just thinking when you're about the leadership, I expect that there was some of that in there because as for leadership in a company, there are people tell you fibs, right? Like and not necessarily by being deceitful, but because they're trying to put their best foot forward, right? Like there's all that and the more you can understand that sometimes it's not an out and out lie, they don't understand what they're feeling.
Right. Or they believe that
Yeah.
they need to paint a certain
Yes.
picture.
Yeah.
And that picture looks
Yeah.
this way, and that's how that picture needs to be. So that's what they're going to tell you.
Or they're not fully aware, and then their body language tells you something else, right? Because
Yes.
I have had plenty of times when I was younger and I went out with this group of girls, and it was back sort of Sex in the City was a big thing, and so there were 4 of us, and everybody had their little role and stuff, but they were all what's the right way to say
such
it?
a different world than,
Oh, yeah.
than my world
Oh,
at
yeah.
the time.
Yeah, but we would go out, but it was also really interesting because they were far more. I'm an introvert and I'm an awkward introvert and stuff. So they'd be out there and they'd be like blah 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 blah, and I'd be feeling this kind of like I'd want to like go sit in the corner stuff.
But want to do an Irish accent and go home and go to bed.
Exactly, right? But it is an interesting thing when it was always like. Because they were always really stylish, and you know, a couple of them were really stylish, and it was kind of like, I don't think I've changed my style for a long time.
I'm so confused right now. I am so confused.
What?
know
What?
why.
Say why.
Because you are one of the most stylish. Every time I see you, I'm like, oh my gosh, I love that outfit.
Oh, that's
my
so
gosh,
sweet.
those glasses are amazing. Your hair is fantastic.
Hey,
Please
the
look at
glasses?
this right
Wait,
now.
these are different glasses.
What the actual hell? What?
I got the other ones somewhere. Here,
Okay,
somewhere.
so the-
in your
the
house, I hope,
green
because otherwise
glasses,
I lost.
I take credit
she
for the
made,
green
she,
glasses.
She made me.
But I love those ones.
You
I
made.
forgot
How
about
do you
those
make
ones.
glasses?
No, I
Can you
didn't
make
make
some
them.
She
glasses,
made,
but
no,
we
she
were-
made me. We
we were-
were. There's somewhere. I don't know where I put it.
We're
It
at the
must be in there
optometrist, and
somewhere.
I'm like, oh, you need to get those.
Okay, that makes
you
more
need to get
sense.
those. Yeah.
No, but I put them because I felt like a change.
Right.
And they just felt like I got a blue shirt and a purple thing, and then it was
And
like,
then the
oh,
teal,
that's just
that's
too much,
just
man.
another but
But yes,
layer.
but thank you. That I absolutely appreciate that. But it is
She's an amazing shopper. She's a terrifyingly
you must be.
amazing
a
shopper.
problem. It's a problem.
Yeah.
It's all a problem. But this for me, it's really interesting, and I'd be interested to hear what our community thinks. Like, were there times when you knew? Like, I can remember standing in line to get into a bar, and honestly, because I had such freaking stylish, beautiful friends, we didn't have to stand in many lines, but we're standing in line, and a guy turned around and he looked at me and he smiled, and I felt like I had just been smiled at by the devil. Like it was like I'm not going in this bar. I'm leaving, and I was driving, so it was like, I'm leaving.
Ugh.
If you're not coming with me, take a cab home, but I am not
Yeah.
going, because it was like, oh my God, I just became
Wow.
a victim.
Ouch.
Wow.
Ouch.
Right? And it was
Yeah.
like, but it was like, there are times when you really get it. And then there are times when it's like, you don't want to hear, you're not paying attention to the red flags
Right,
that your
right.
spidey senses
Yeah.
are giving you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
Or in our case, I mean, I'm trying to think of all the times I, as a young person, went to a bar with a group of my friends. That'd be 0.
okay, I'm not sure how we're friends, but you know.
Don't know either.
Back in the day,
And I
they
had-
probably
and-
would have been calling 911.
Let me just say the 80s were a good time for me. So.
See?
And I don't
See, there's a
get
flow.
that. Like the
Yeah.
80s. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I had hair. I had good 80s
Oh,
hair.
good hair.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you did, actually.
Oh, we need
That's
a
true.
picture that we could put up.
Oh, I have a picture.
Oh, do you?
I have a picture.
We should put that up.
I have a picture. It's great. You've got your legs crossed like this. You're showing your awesome track field star legs, and you've got hair, the whole thing.
She still has good legs, man.
She
You guys
does.
were walking
I
in
know.
front of me on the walk today, and it was like, holy crap, man! I think I'm a leg woman.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm getting the vapors now.
But it's yeah. I mean, our upbringings are
Very
so
different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
and the whole. I mean, well, I was married and having babies
How
by
old were you?
25.
I was divorced by 25. And working at McLean's.
Oh my god.
that's funny. But that's also like a kind of interesting thing that you can have very different life experiences and yet have the same values and the same sort of approach to life. And
and may I say that although I had a really good time in the 80s, I didn't know how to use my enteric brain. I did not know when I was safe.
Right.
And it is a miracle that I did not get that horrible things didn't happen to me, because I had not learned how to wield my own power yet. And I was a walking victim waiting to happen.
Right.
We were taught to ignore our enteric brain.
Yes.
We were taught to not go into the circumstances that you were in.
Right.
And so therefore, you go into those circumstances, it's your fault then if anything happens.
Exactly.
So we were never taught how to safely wield the circumstances of the world of a 25-year-old woman.
Whatever negativity I lived through, it could have been so much more. It could have been so much worse. Yeah. And it was really crazy that not worse things didn't happen to me.
But it feels like as much as that was a challenging time, right? Because that was when it felt like the world started to go from peace, love, and to sort of predatory. You know, it was like when the movie Wall Street came out. So and it was more there was that. Right. But I also feel like and perhaps we didn't hear about it because people didn't talk more about it. But the flip side is, I think social media has exacerbated the challenges, right? Because back then it was also, it also felt like, at least for me, and in downtown Toronto, you'd go out to a bar, but the bartenders would be watching out for you, and the servers, and I mean, it's not like, oh God, there were times when we'd have, and I mean, it was downtown Toronto, but we went to probably the same 4 or 5 bars in rotation, but you'd come up and especially one server at the Chicken Deli, Cindy, I'm going to tag you, but she would come up and be like, no, don't talk to him, right? Or the bartender, we'd be leaving, right? And we'd be getting a cab because you know, as much as I probably drove a couple times when I'd had a bit too much, I was pretty careful about it. But we'd be leaving, and the bouncer would be like, I'm going to walk you guys out because those 3 guys over there have been watching you guys all night. Like we had, and we might have not been aware of any of it,
right.
but you had, because we were semi-regulars, right? And I think back then there was more of this is the pub we went to for live music. This is the pub, you know, we went to, not for me to dance, but for my friends to dance. Like, it was a little...
We'll get her dancing one day. We won't ever get her dancing.
No, I am happy to hold the purses. But you know what I mean? I think it was a little bit of a simpler time. I think the challenges are more sophisticated. Like, I think
it behind that. I think that's probably very true, because knowledge has caused that. We know... The internet has caused us to know so much more, to be aware of so much more,
also
see so much
the
more.
predators are smarter.
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
So when in that time when you were having fun with your girlfriends in the bars, because there's this whole thing about the drinks, you can order a drink and it sends a signal to the bartender that you're scared about something.
So we didn't have there's an angel drink now. But we would have it where if we ordered a drink, the bartender would be like, oh no, I have a special drink for you, and they'd give you like water or something. It's like, you need to pay attention. Right? Like, and that was sort of like, that was, but it was also because we were regulars, right? Okay. So I don't know. I think they would have done it if they had seen something from anybody.
Man,
but they knew us, right?
Fantastic.
Right. But I also remember I had a young person that I'm like an auntie to call me, and it was the next day, and she said, I think I'm okay, but I'm pretty sure somebody put something in my drink last night, and I'm afraid to tell my mom. Right? And so I walked her through it, and it was like, hang on, like, and she said, nope, I woke up alone. My friend said they put me in the car, but she said, I have no memory. And it wasn't like this person had drank a lot. And so we had a conversation, and I was like, so what you need to think about is, if there was somebody in that bar, so let's call the bar and ask them if they had any other incidents, and we're going to call the cops and tell them, you don't have any proof of this, but they need to be aware. Right. So we did all of that, but see, then that's where going back to the aunties in the world, or the
absolutely
kind of stuff is the stuff they might not immediate, and then it was like, it's okay this time because nothing happened. but if something happened, we'd have to tell. Like I always said to them, I will do anything for you, but if there's a danger to you or a danger to others, I will tell your parents.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, but that was always the rule. It was like, I'm never going to rat you out.
Yeah.
But here's our thing. If I think you're in trouble,
you need a safe. Everybody needs safety. Safe people
Right.
in their lives.
And
that's interesting, though, that little piece of it, though, because that's where things sometimes get balled up for women, is that why were you there in the first place? What were you wearing?
yeah, but that's
Right?
just it,
All
right?
those things, right? And when in fact, you know what? I can go wherever I want and wear whatever I want.
Yeah, my inner voice is giving you is not to you, but to saying to that concept is throwing down some F-bombs on that one.
Exactly.
But that used to be the thing, right?
Yeah.
Right? And that was
Yeah.
like, remember that? And it was in Canada, where there was a judge who said to somebody, and I'm trying to remember what city it was in. It was somewhere in the prairies, but the judge said to that person, it was either, why were you there or why'd you wear that? And the judge, I think that he got removed from the bench.
Yeah, I have a hazy memory of that too.
But
so
like
yeah.
that's like, and
Yeah.
we have come so far,
Yeah.
right? Because we've done work with judges, and I know like they are so far on the other side now of everybody gets to be where they are and do what they want and stuff.
Yeah.
But like back then it was victim blaming.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very much so.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is an interesting thing, but it's also, I have to say, so the young ones, although I was saying the youngins the other day, and Ryan was like, oh my God, you sound like you're 500. but it's like,
Hey, we're old and we own it.
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
but the young ones are so much quicker to say nope
Yeah.
than we
100%.
ever were.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's
I
awesome.
love that about
Yeah.
them. I
I do
absolutely
too.
love it.
I do too. I
My
love
kids
that.
have been putting me in check and teaching me things.
Yeah, right?
Absolutely.
It is humbling. It is really humbling, but at the same time, it is.
We're just putting the light back on. She's not
It
trying to
is.
crawl out to see you guys.
It's there's an aspect of humility in that I want to keep on learning. We were talking about this earlier. Like, I want to keep on learning. I want to not be somebody who gets stuck in whatever rut I'm in.
Yeah.
So yeah, my kids don't have all the answers by any means, but they know stuff that is pertinent to now that I don't.
They've had a different lived experience, right?
They have a different lived experience.
But
absolutely.
But the
Keep-
other
keep
thing
teaching
is,
me.
I also think it's parents like you two that you've created a safe space where they can push back on you.
hopefully,
Because
preach,
Yeah.
preach
Yeah.
it.
right? But
Yes,
you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
that goes
Yes.
back to what you were saying.
that
It
gets
is
uncomfortable.
So important.
Yeah.
So-
So important to be willing to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So we had lunch with Andrea, my middle daughter, yesterday, and she had a break.
I
from
love
work.
her, just saying.
She's awesome. She had a break from work, and her 2-year-old was in daycare. Her partner is busy doing other things. So anyway, she had time to come and have lunch with us.
That's nice.
And she was talking about the friggin' ridiculous feral alligator roll, bite you, draw blood kind of situations she gets into with changing the clothes and the diapers of her 2-year-old. He is an animal, and I've seen it, and I haven't seen the worst of it. I've seen it enough to be like, okay, Granny has to go now. Granny has to go now.
Well, and you had all girls.
I had all girls, so I don't
boys,
know.
right?
I did, and I have a little grandbaby boy who is exactly
Just like
him.
that.
A 4-point hold. 4-point
So-
hold on a diaper.
It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. So what I said to her, and she knows this, but she says, he doesn't do this at daycare. What is going on?
Oh.
Like, you are the safe place.
Yeah, absolutely.
You are the safe place. You
yeah.
are the place where he can let all of his anxiety out and
Yeah.
his fears and his whatever. So it's really hard to be that safe person where everybody can let all of their awfulness out. But it's also super important
To be grape, Andrea.
to be great.
You just told a story that is so, I hear it over and over with people who work with adults with disabilities.
Oh, yeah.
Because sometimes the caregiver that is most beloved is the one who gets hit the most.
Absolutely.
Because
I
they're the
believe
safe
that.
place.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so it just, what you said works in so many different
Where are they
arenas.
all? What are they doing? Oh, he's here. I don't know what the other ones are doing.
working at the inside things. I mean,
But that's actually an interesting thing because, the whole, people tend who lash out at the one they love the
Yeah.
most.
Yes,
right.
it's
You know,
true.
which
It's
which
true.
is unreasonable.
Yeah.
But also understandable.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Who do we're all married here. Who do we treat the worst? Our husbands.
Oh, those poor men. Oh, Tim gets he gets put through it. Oh, Tim.
Yeah.
Shout out to Tim.
Yeah. Shout out to Ray. Shout out to Paul.
That's
all,
right.
All of
Shout
them.
out to Paul. I better say it or else I'll be in trouble. but it also goes the other way, right? Like it's one of
Yeah.
those things where you absolutely do it, but it also makes me want to do better.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Because instead of being cranky because something's happening here, I'm directing my anger to the wrong place, right?
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
which you know, although it's either be cranky with him or eat too many potato chips or, you know, drink tequila. Like, it's going to go
You
somewhere.
can come over to my
Right.
house and eat
Eat
potato chips and drink
wine.
bubbles anytime.
Whilst complaining.
Yes.
Well, but
about
because
There
it's got
is
to come out.
benefit. There is
absolutely,
benefit
there
to the
is.
venting.
Yeah.
Maybe not according
No,
to your doctor.
sometimes.
But maybe not
Sometimes.
according to my doctor.
No, but
But
I
that's where
think,
it goes when you're
but
when,
that-
when,
Yeah.
where you if you can turn the corner while you're
has-
doing it,
right.
then it's really
Right.
beneficial.
Yeah.
and so I think I've talked about this before. Paul and I have a thing where it's like we get to vent 3 times about something, and either you have to do something about it or you have to let go.
Nice.
Right? And it is,
Nice.
but you also have to be able to say, I just need to vent, because sometimes I don't want a solution.
Right.
Right.
Right, I
let
just
me-
want to
hear
rant.
me. Only
right?
hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, I know for me and Paul, we have to identify that because we're both helpers.
Right. Jumping in, jumping in.
Yeah. That was that has been historically a real challenge for Ray, my husband, because he also is a fixer, and he's been professionally. He's been a fixer.
Right.
Someone comes to him, brings him a problem. I will diagnose the problem, and I will solve it. And so I will say something. He said, "Well, this is what you should do. This is what." Blah, blah. I'm like, honestly, fuck you to hell and back. Why can't you just listen to me? I don't. Why that is not what I'm asking for. Do not tell me what my problem is.
You don't.
Do not
But
tell
I
me what
have
my
to. I
problem
swear to
is.
God,
Oh my gosh.
because me and Paul had that, and so we had to say, if you want a solution, say I'm looking for
Yes.
a solution,
Yeah.
and if you're looking to
Exactly.
vent, and we have to be very clear.
Yes.
But here's the problem. What if you just mumble to yourself while you're packing to go to a trip, for example, and you say things like, where the hell is my knee brace? I can't even find it. I don't think it's anywhere. And all of a sudden you've got Tim running around the house like a crazy person looking for my knee brace.
That's like
when
Paul.
I found it already.
Yeah.
But he just immediately tries to help to the extent that, like, I think I stress him out because I talk to myself and I kind of complain to myself a little bit. And he's hearing me thinking
Right,
that I'm a
right.
damsel in distress,
Right.
which
Yes.
I'm not usually, you know.
Yeah.
Poor man.
Yeah, I can't imagine, but I get that because I'll be like doing things and like getting ready to go early in the morning to Vancouver, and sometimes we have to leave at 5, so you get there for 8, and you know
So gross
it's-
to leave to get
Well,
anywhere. in the
but you know,
morning.
Yeah.
MSNBC is on, Morning Joe's on. I'm good, but you get that. Like I'm doing stuff, and he's like, "I'll take your stuff out to the car." It's like, don't touch my stuff because I have a thing
It's
of
all
how I know.
organized.
And
He
also,
could go on for a long time on that one right
and
there.
also,
Don't help me with
if
that.
I don't put it in the Jeep,
Then you
I don't know that I have
Exactly.
it.
Right.
Exactly.
Right? Like, and he's trying to help, and it's like, and so every time I say, "Don't touch my stuff," he's like, "That's a trigger for us." He just throws up his hands and walks away.
Tim, are you listening to this? It's not just us. It's not just
no.
me.
Oh no! And bless his heart, I know he's trying to help, but at 5 in the
Exactly.
morning, don't touch my stuff.
Just be there in the background and be putting off vibes of "I love you, you're wonderful,
Yes.
you've got all this,
Yes.
you've got
Yeah.
it."
And you can put off vibes like "Don't forget your electronics"
Yeah.
and
Right.
stuff
Or-
like
and
that.
you can put off vibes like "I've made you an extra cup of coffee."
Oh,
Exactly.
yeah, that's
Yes.
good.
Oh,
Yeah.
now I don't know why he was upstairs. But or you could say,
Why did he go
"Hey,
there?
you're carrying all that out.
Close.
Can I help you carry that?"
Right. Yes.
Right? But
Yes.
it's like when I've got it lined up, don't be like, because then I'll get in the car and it's like, "Where's my phone?"
Okay, so you've had children, you have not had children. You understand about transition.
Oh yeah.
Transition in childbirth is the phase where you go from, like, my daughter Andrea, who did maternity nursing, will know this, stage 1 or stage 2 or stage 3 or whatever, from laboring to delivering a child. It's the stage where, in my case, I throw up 3 times. I learned it by the 3rd one. I'm like, yeah, give me a base and I'm about to throw up and deliver a baby. and it's the time where you're like, I'm never doing this again. It's the worst decision I ever made or didn't make, but I hate this. It's horrible. I can't do it anymore. Get out of my face. I'm going to kill you. It's the worst. And it's called transition because everyone hates change.
Yeah.
And
that's
it is
fascinating.
from one stage to another. You're going from one stage to another.
Yeah.
So the transition of leaving the house. I mean, how were your
Right?
kids with leaving the house when they were small?
Oh, it's
It's
really
like-
horrible.
We have to find a way to get from one state to another. Going from one state to another is always hard for humans. And it's the hardest for the humans who have the fewest tools. And
Yeah.
children have the fewest tools.
Yeah.
Or people with disabilities, or people with whatever the thing is, or when you're under stress, or your tank is low, or you're raising Roxy. You have the fewest tools, right? Your bitchy
But that's
room.
interesting.
And you can't, and going from one state to another is the hardest.
Yeah,
And-
transition
and
is a huge.
Transition is a
But
huge
this
huge
is
thing.
really interesting because I just did for a client. I just did a change management comms like 101 sort of, so people understand. But this is really interesting because even good change,
Yes.
You have to
it's-
grieve it.
yeah,
You have to
like
grieve what
like,
you're leaving behind.
Yeah,
Yes.
like that's
Grieve and
really,
embrace
but
it.
that's real. That's a really interesting to understand because if you think about the biology of childbirth and you have this moment where you feel it, that's sort of the foundation
Yeah.
of trauma for
Yeah.
that moment, right? Like that's really fascinating.
Well, and we know what that is like from the point of view of a laboring mother. We don't know what that's like from the point of a human emerging.
right.
Right.
But
Right.
we've all been through it.
Right.
We've all been through it. So there's probably some lizard brain evolutionary thing that has taught us that transition is challenging. It's hard.
But also think about why they start to have, they put people in rivers and bathtubs and lakes and all that, right? Because they're trying to make it not
Water.
as dramatic, right?
Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah.
that. But that's an interesting when you think like even really great change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hard.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. Okay, we're getting up to 1 hour and 10 minutes.
Oh.
So
Probably done pretty soon.
because
This is what happens.
we also
What are
have
we
to
missing?
do. We also have to. Oh, well, I'm going to go on about retirement isn't for everyone, but we'll do that next time because it's not for everybody. It's not. For
When are
me.
you retiring, Ruth?
Never. I might take more days off, but I'm not retiring because first of all, I would online shop, maybe online gamble. I would day drink,
yeah.
and I would just be a problem. Like I would just be a menace to the community.
You don't know that.
Oh, I know that.
We might
I would
start
bake-
up.
I would
You're
bake
saying
all
like
day.
all of those things are bad things.
Nope. I just got to a place where they're coming to me and they're paying us money, and I like what I'm doing. I'm doing it for a while. Also,
sounds
this
good.
podcast.
This
Roxanne.
podcast, yes. Hello.
Okay, so we're
this
ready-
is fun. This isn't retirement, right?
We're ready for gratefuls.
We're ready for gratefuls.
What are you grateful for today?
Someone else go first.
What are you grateful for?
Ooh, I'm grateful for good sleeps that can start as early as they want.
Woohoo!
Love a good sleep.
Yep, that's a good one.
And
Are
I'm
you having
sleeping
good
really.
sleeps here?
I'm having great sleeps at Roxy's house.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really
love
nice.
that. I love
cold
that.
and dark, cold and dark with a
It
good
is-
pillow.
It
That's
is
all I
cold.
need.
Honestly, like we're
That
watching
worries
TV.
me for you.
We're
Cold
watching-
and dark. It sounds like you're going into a cave of some sort.
Oh, I would.
Well,
That
she's
sounds
sleeping
good.
upstairs, and to be fair,
to be fair,
in our house, the heat in every house rises, but like we turn it down to 18 degrees at night.
Hallelujah. That is the sweet spot.
And our master bedroom is
Oh,
over
well,
here. Our
and
main
you're
bedroom.
talking Canadian 18.
Yes, Canadian.
Okay, because we have it in Fahrenheit.
Of
in our
course.
house.
I don't know what that is. I don't know Fahrenheit.
I don't know, 71? Who
No.
knows?
Okay, well, ours
60
is
something,
68.
60 something.
So ours is 68. So it's not right.
So
Okay,
it's
get
good.
back to your gratefuls. You're cute, but you're rambling.
Yeah. We had lunch with my daughter. We each had one beverage, and instantly my cheeks were all red. I'm like, what? What's wrong with this?
Well, you should be grateful for natural makeup.
Grateful.
Anyway, I'm grateful for natural makeup. Okay, so yes,
You should
correct.
be grateful for good prognosis on your eyes.
I
Oh,
am.
that's a good one.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is a good one. Yeah. But it took an hour for all that to happen. And she texts me and she says, I'm going to get my eyebrows threaded. I'm like,
Well, they look very nice.
Random.
I was going to ask you, how do you do that?
I feel
Random.
a little bit like the Simpson baby in that episode, you know, with the...
Looks very nice.
And she comes back, and I'm still blurry in one eye and all that and whatever. I'm like, oh, your eyebrows look amazing. Like, that's so great. Oh, it's great. And she's like, oh, I'm scared. Anyway, but she got her eyebrows done. So that's all good. And also for your lovely eyebrows, I'm happy for you.
Oh, there you go.
Because you came out and you're like, I have to wear glasses. I got to cover this.
Oh, well.
It looks very nice.
They look great.
Okay,
like,
well,
they match your eye.
That's enough.
And so
thank you.
I have a microblading appointment in October sometime. I don't know. So I'm a little worried also. I understand how you feel because I draw them in to look like this. And I don't know how that's going to go when somebody tattoos me in.
My eyebrows are naturally gray now, and so you can't even see them.
Right.
So when she put actual eyebrows on me, I'm like, I don't know what to do with my face now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, yes, I'm grateful for whatever the cosmetic enhancements they can do for us at this age that make us comfortable with ourselves.
There you go.
I'm grateful for the ping pong of this. I am grateful for sisters.
Oh,
that's lovely. That's lovely.
Okay.
Can I adopt you as one of my sisters? Yes.
Oh, thank you for being with us today.
Yeah,
we
so,
will
Roxanne?
link to things.
What do we want?
We want
more happy hours.
And what do we want? Less of Ruth
You could say it.
or Connie.
Less bullshit.
Less bullshit.
There we go.
Thanks
Have
for
a good
being
weekend,
here, people.
everybody.
We will see you in a couple of weeks. Hold on, where's my mouse? Oh my god. Where's my mouse? Oh, there it is.